Hello everybody and welcome to another mod video. Like many others, I've had to deal with space restrictions because of some of my more budget-friendly machines. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how to fix this. As always, do this modification at your own risk. I'm in no way responsible if any damages may occur. I, like many others, had pre-ordered the Elegoo Saturn II, and although I had received it some time ago, I was unable to use it because of space restrictions. In my case, this was caused by the lid design, which, although fairly robust, requires several inches to properly remove the cover. It's for this reason that I started working on this simple modification for my machine. To make these changes easier, I've reworked the initial design to ensure that the original lid could be reused and that only a limited amount of printing would be required. This makes it easier for more people to undertake, while also leaving additional room for customization in the future. Now, I will be including the tools, supply list, and STL on my main website at yorkspirifantasyart.com should you also be interested in doing this yourself. Before undertaking this, you're going to want an easy to clean space, since this will create a lot of debris which could be difficult to clean up later. So I highly recommend you have a vacuum at the ready, since the debris could damage your FEP if it gets into the vat. You'll need a rotary tool kit along with a cutting disc that will be large enough to cut through the full thickness of the material. Having a back saw will help cut all the way through if you don't have the proper disc thickness, and will also help straighten the cut. Before we start cutting, we're going to place some painter's tape along the edge of the machine. The cut will be at 2.5 inches from the back of the lid. You'll want to cover that area so you can make your markings. With the painter's tape in place, you'll then either use a combination square or a simple ruler to draw out your lines. As mentioned previously, I made it 2.5 inches from the back of the machine so that it just barely clears the linear rail system. It's very important that you clear the rail system, since we'll be attaching the printed portions to this later. Before cutting into the material, I did some practice runs with a similar plastic to make sure I had the proper speed for my rotary toolkit. In my case, I found that a speed of either 3 or 4 was a great balance between speed and control. Anywhere past a 5 mark and you will risk melting the plastic, which can cause the disc to melt into place. The cutting disc I was using was fairly small, therefore it didn't cut all the way through, forcing me to use my back saw to finish the procedure. This had the additional benefit of straightening out my cuts, but shouldn't be necessary if you have the correct supplies. I began from one side and went all the way around, making sure that I was always facing the back side of the lid. This helped ensure that I was always cutting from the same side of the markings. Once I finished both sides, I then worked on the top of the lid, being careful not to put too much pressure on it. While finishing up with the back saw, I made sure to hold both portions together while I cut through. With the 2 pieces cut, it was now time to deburr the edges and clean up the entire area before moving forward. This is actually a very important step, since material can get stuck into the tape and become difficult to remove later on. I used a vacuum cleaner to clean the workspace and the lids fully. Although the lid could fit together, it's still better to add a ledge to prevent any light from bleeding through. Any fully opaque plastic will work for this purpose. I had some material laying around, so I used this. However, most art store or hardware stores have various materials which could be used for this purpose. Just make sure whatever you choose will be resistant to isopropyl alcohol and resin. To attach this material, you have 2 main options. You can either use a double-sided adhesive, or like me, I use some gaff tape since it doesn't leave a residue. If you decide to use some gaff tape, be aware that you'll need to replace it every 1 to 2 years. By putting this tape on both sides of the edge, it allowed for a tighter fit, which in turn prevent the front from coming off easily. I did leave about 1 inch of clearance on the bottom since I was concerned about the tape absorbing the resin. I ended up covering that area later on because it allowed too much light through the opening on either side. What I did do, however, is use some Kapton tape to attach the material to that area, since it's more resilient to chemicals. After 3D printing these 2 parts, we'll super glue these to the top of the linear rail enclosure. This will help make sure that the back lid stays in place, since we don't want this to move around. Using some more Kapton tape, we'll then tape the bottom edge of the lid to the rest of the machine. With everything attached, I could finally start testing this new machine. So while this may not be necessary to get a fully functional machine, this mod has made a big difference in my ability to fully utilize my workspace. Removing the lid is a lot easier now and has sped up my overall workflow. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you and take care.